You're listening to a Raconteur Studios podcast.
Welcome to the After Our Skin Clinic, where we chat about all things skincare, science and self-care, with a bit of fun and a lot of storytelling along the way. I'm your host, Dr Emma Craythorne, and this week we're tackling LED masks. I get asked about this all of the time in clinic, so we thought, let's talk about this right here. But just a small detour while I have your attention. If you're enjoying these episodes and like the After Our Skin Clinic and what we stand for, would you make my day and click subscribe? We're still very new in the podcasting world, and it really helps us grow and reach more people. It would mean the world to me and the team to have your support. Anyway, on with the show. So, Ellie, you're here not just because you are Dr. Ellie Rashid, but because your name sounds like LED.
masks, yes. But there are so many conditions in dermatology, like lupus erythematosus, everyone shortens to Ellie. So whenever there's a meeting happening, they're like, Ellie. Oh, huh?
I'm famous.
And
so here today, we only want you for your name.
thank you.
Do you have an LED mask?
So I was gifted an LED mask very kindly, but I didn't think I'd have the time to use it, and I wasn't quite sure what the benefits would be or whether I could be bothered, basically. So I gave it to my mum.
And did your mum use it?
No, I don't think she does.
Your mum would definitely tell you if she was using it.
Yeah, no, I don't think she does.
I'm a bit the same. I have been very kindly given lots of LED masks, which I typically donate to different school raffles. It's not that I disbelieve the benefits of LED, but I just think the time spent and benefit gain just doesn't really get it for me.
It's sort of anything between 10 minutes and 30 minutes of use every single night.
Yeah, which is really, that's too valuable time. Go into Pilates.
Yeah. But then I can understand why people might like to use them, because they can then carve out that 10 to 30 minutes for themselves. Like sometimes I do that. Like, so I'm going to go and have a shower. And I just think, oh, lovely, 10 minutes to myself. Lovely.
Yeah, but you get an immediate benefit of not smelling anymore.
True.
Yeah. Always like, get in the shower, Elle.
You've had a long day, I can tell.
So let's think about how these LED masks actually work and why there is such a big hype about them. So LEDs are essentially stand for these light emitting diodes, and they cover the wavelength of light in the visible spectrum up to infrared. And the idea really is, depending on which wavelengths of light are being utilized, so a different wavelength gives a different color. And the different colours have different actions on the skin. So you can then typically try and select whatever action you want to have and then use those wavelengths accordingly. So what happens in this, what we call photobiomodulation. So what happens in this photobiomodulation, essentially the photo being the light, interacts with the skin. And the main colours of light that we think of are things like blue light and green light and red light. And there's also amber light ones, which are not really that often used. And we have these devices in dermatology offices and in clinics. And in fact, almost, I think, without exception, all of the studies showing benefit, so these large randomized control studies, are based in the in-clinic environment showing the benefit. It's not these at-home masks. So when I talk about these studies, these are in-clinic studies. But if we think about blue light, we use that in clinic, and we typically find it helpful for patients who have acne.
Works on the microbiome, doesn't it? So it can help just balance the microbiome and help improve people that have symptoms of acne. I think one of the issues that I have with all sort of LED devices are that, one, you can't have randomized controlled studies for some of these in-home devices, because one, it's very difficult to fund. These trials are often very expensive, and there's so much variability between the different devices. I feel like everyone has brought out an LED mask device or an LED helmet for sort of hair restoration, and so you can't compare them against each other very easily. And I think there's just so much variability, which spectrum of light it is, what the energy is, how many of these bulbs are within the device itself. So there's just so much variability to then say, actually, as a whole, they're wonderful, or as a whole, they're not wonderful. And that's where the in-clinic devices have got more evidence and more robust evidence for their use, but they often are more powerful as well. They've got more energy.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. They are more powerful and they are more constant. And by that, I mean that the output is regularly monitored to ensure that the amount of energy of that particular wavelength of light is being delivered to the skin. And when we think about the studies, if we think about just for blue light, for example, we know that, yes, that regulates the microbiome because blue light is essentially picked up by the bacteria that's part of the cause of acne and it destroys it. But it only temporarily destroys it. So you do have to have these repeated treatments of the blue light therapy. And these, from all of the studies done, of which there have been 8 randomized control trials, they are all done on the in-clinic devices. So it's hard to then draw kind of parallel to that and say, yes, just because you have a mask at home that delivers blue light, that it's going to deliver the same benefits as the treatment in a clinic. Because, for example, remember, blue light is around us all of the time. Sitting in front of your computer screen at work, you're getting a certain amount of blue light, not as much as you're getting from being outside, but you're still getting some blue light. But you're not thinking of that as kind of treating your acne. And unless these masks that emit blue light are being monitored in the same way as the in-clinic treatments, then I think that, I'd rather have somebody on a definite treatment for acne rather than using a blue light mask at home if they're going to try and get that benefit.
Yeah, I liken the LED in-clinic devices to the at-home devices, so laser hair removal. So you can use a laser hair reduction device in clinic, and that will be far more powerful and more effective than some of these at-home smaller devices that you can use.
Yeah. And if we think about red light, because red light really is the one that everybody is wanting to use. And the reason for using red light is that you're thought to then get some rejuvenation because it stimulates the fibroblasts and you're getting this collagen and elastin being laid down because the fibroblasts are being stimulated. And that then leads to kind of this rejuvenation of the skin. It's also red light used a lot in wound healing. So there's actually pretty good evidence for its use in wound healing. But what do you think about that being translated into these at-home red light LED masks?
I just think you can't compare. It's like comparing apples and pears. You're comparing 2 different devices. And devices are held to different standards compared to like a drug therapy, for example. I just think you won't be able to do a like-for-like comparison of the benefits that you can achieve in clinic compared to what you're going to achieve at home.
Yes, because I think really the at-home ones have a license to show they are safe to use at home for that indication. So it doesn't mean that they are effective. It just means that they are safe to use at home for that indication. So you're not going to harm yourself if used in the correct way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get these big changes that often are claimed.
The only slight reservation I have about at-home devices, LED at-home device, is if you have any pigmentary problems in the skin, very sensitive, melasma, for example, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, might you then make the problem worse by having this constant exposure to blue light?
So definitely for blue light.
Yeah.
So for red light, the evidence isn't there, but definitely for blue light. And when we think of somebody who has melasma or post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation or skin types 4 to 6, so that's brown, black skin types who might otherwise have melasma also, we know that that blue light interacts with the melanocyte and then more pigment is made. So many of the treatments that we have for melasma are specifically against this damage caused by blue light, even though it's really UVA that's causing most of the problem in melasma. But blue light does play a bit of a role, and high energy visible light. So for the blue light, I do think that there is this risk of hyperpigmentation. In fact, I don't think there is a risk of hyperpigmentation.
Yeah, there is a risk. I mean, I'm proactively asking my patients that have hyperpigmentation and melasma to protect against the full spectrum of high energy visible light, UVA and UVB, obviously. And then if they're telling me that they're using an LED mask that's got blue light, then I would proactively ask them to stop using that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's exactly what I do as well.
So if a patient isn't suitable to have an LED mask, what do you think that they should be spending their money on instead?
I mean, for melasma, the key that I always talk about is the most important thing is your SPF. And there's a whole episode where we talk about how to pick your SPF and choose your SPF. So if you want to learn more, you can go to that. But I think, melasma is triggered by predominantly ultraviolet radiation and a little bit of inflammation. And in order to try and reduce those melanocytes from making the pigment, the most important thing is to find the SPF that you really like and you will really wear. And it's an SPF that covers all aspects of the UVA spectrum, and ideally, if you can, into the visible light spectrum. Visible light normally means that your SPF has got a tint in it. And often if you're putting that tint on in the quantities that you need to, it can look a bit fake. So I'll often say to people, put on just a bland SPF, just a plain coloured SPF. And then if you want to put a tinted one on over the top, you can do that. But that is the most important thing. Trying to get rid of melasma with LED masks are not going to be helpful. These blue LED masks are going to make the problem much worse. So stick to the treatments that we know that work, which is SPF to prevent it, and then topical treatments with ingredients that are 4% hydroquinone, with tretinoin, with 20% azelaic acid. These are all known ingredients that can treat melasma, but it all has to be done in combination with your SPF. I do think that whenever we look at red light in a clinical situation, this is not an at-home mask, at a clinical situation, it definitely has a positive benefit on the skin in terms of wound healing. And there's randomized control trials to study that. That is not the same as the at-home masks, which don't have that same level of evidence. But I also just wonder, is the at-home time a little bit like what you said at the very beginning? If you had half an hour just meditating every single day, I actually think that would probably have a very positive effect on your skin
health. Yeah,
wouldn't it?
I think so too. Particularly if you combine that with just having your little LED mask on, a bit of quiet time, away from all the buzz. I think that would have great mental health and skin health benefits.
Yeah, so I don't think that there's anything wrong with the red light mask, for example, especially if you are carving out that time. I just think that some of them are pretty expensive as well. I mean, I'm not here to guard people's purse strings necessarily, but in terms of rejuvenation, I think there's probably other things that people could do if that was the main goal.
Yeah. And also we've got things like the LED helmets for sort of hair restoration, and they are expensive, and there isn't evidence to support their use for hair regrowth. And there are evidence-based strategies that we could use for hair regrowth in clinic that would probably be far superior to the use of an LED helmet to try and restore your hair. And also the patients that have lost hair, they are often desperate for treatment options. And so then if they're looking for the LED helmet to massively improve their hair regrowth and then they don't achieve it, I think that's quite hard. It's disappointing for them, and it just feels like another setback in their sort of hair journey.
Yeah, like with the skin rejuvenation and with the hair regrowth, there are very good treatments for this, and they are available, and they're typically not that expensive. And my go-to would be to pick these more evidence-based treatments to do. They might be a bit more boring, but to do those because they are the things that will make the difference. It's a bit like I often get asked, what could you use instead of an acne treatment for the skin? So say benzoyl peroxide. What can you use instead of that at home if you get a spot? It's like, well, just use the treatment that works rather than the alternative. So I often think that a little bit with these LED masks. If you're using it for something like skin rejuvenation, there are very definite treatments that we have that are effective. And I'm not saying that all LEDs are not effective, but certainly the in-clinic ones we know can be helpful. But it's these ones at home that I think have less evidence behind them to show the job that they might do. There is a study suggesting that you can use these LEDs for cellulite reduction, which obviously doesn't work.
What a shame.
When we think of the in-clinic dermatology LEDs or light emitting diodes, there are things that it is helpful for. So we know that it's helpful for acne, and that is the blue light is helpful for acne. You have to have repeated treatments. And there's 8 really well-run studies showing this benefit. There's good studies to show how it speeds up recovery and wound healing. When we think about things like skin rejuvenation, the evidence is much lower. We would think of this as a kind of low level of evidence. And there are 6 studies showing it, but it is fairly low level. I mean, you can get these masks everywhere and anywhere now, from £2,500 all the way to the least expensive one, which is
£12.99 from Aldi.
Yeah, bargain. So it's all about the quality of the mask. It's all about the quality of the lights. It's all about the number of lights. It's also about the energy output of the lights. It's about the wavelength of the lights. And really all of the studies that we talk about are based on in-clinic devices. This has not been translated to these LED home masks. So I do think that that is something that everyone should really bear in mind. For most of the conditions that people are potentially trying to treat their skin with or try and improve, there are better topical treatments that one probably could just use at home.
Probably spend your money elsewhere with some of these more evidence-based products and treatments for your skin concern.
Okay, so if your skin concern is acne, what are you going to do?
Clearer. If it's melasma, what are you going to do?
Clearer.
If it's rosacea, what are you going to do?
Clearer. That's easy.
If it's photo rejuvenation, what are you going to do? Clearer.
So I think the long and short of this is that LEDs are very helpful for many conditions, but, and here's the real caveat, the at-home devices are quite different to those professional in-clinic treatments. And there is, because of this lack of standardization on wavelengths and lights and energies. And really, all of these conditions that we talked about have standardized treatments, and that really should be the first port of call before employing other treatments that have less evidence.
Exactly right.
But I'd say if you were wanting to try them, the most important thing is to do it safely and to look for FDA approved devices to show that at least they're safe to use at home. Really be cautious with darker skin tones or people who are prone to melasma if you're using a blue light, because we know that blue light can cause hyperpigmentation. So otherwise that might make that condition worse. And I suppose blue light is the one that is going to be more damaging to the eye. So you do have to be careful and use it as it is described whenever you're buying your mask in the information that comes with it. Because there was that case that was published in the Korean literature about a 37-year-old woman who used her blue light LED mask and ended up with retinitis and temporary blindness, I think it was, as a consequence of using it.
Awful.
You can imagine if you've got high energy blue light going towards your eyes, then that is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So do it safely.
Yeah, always. In clinic.
In clinic. And that's a wrap for today at the After Hours Skin Clinic. It was lovely, as always, having you. Wherever you find us, please do leave comments, reviews and likes. And please don't forget to subscribe. If you enjoy this episode, why not give us a follow on social media or send us a question? You can do this on Instagram at the After Hours Skin Clinic, or send over an email to ahsc@raconteur.tv. These details will be in the show notes. So take care of yourself and your skin and wear your SPF, and we'll see you soon at the After Hours Skin Clinic. As always, this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Please consult your healthcare professional before making a change to your treatment.